Hello, I'm Brian Noble, CEO of Family Policy Institute of Washington.
I'm Brad Payne, president of FPIW Action.
A couple of disclaimers before we get started. Nothing in this video is considered an endorsement of the candidate, nor the candidate's endorsement of FPIW or FPIW Action. It's simply a public service to meet and greet the candidate.
All right. Well, good morning, Brian. Thank you for joining us.
Morning, guys. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. So, three-part question to start. Brian, please tell us what position you're running for, and then share a bit about yourself and your family, and then tell us about your experience for this position.
Absolutely. Legislative District 12, State Representative, Position 1. Yeah, Brian Burnett, former Chelan County Sheriff. Did 12 years as a sheriff, 25-year career in law enforcement. I currently work as the Director of Law Enforcement Services for a securities company called Seattle's Finest, where we hire off-duty police officers. I also am a contract employee for the Washington State Sheriff's Association, as I'm a past president of the Washington State Sheriff's Association. Married to my wife, April, of 37 years. Together, we have 7 kids. They're all grown up, having babies of their own. We just had number 10 grandchild, and they're spread out all across the United States. My oldest son is a police officer in the state of Maine. I have 2 boys in the military, one in North Carolina and one in Georgia at the time, but going to be coming back to JBLM, Tacoma. So hopefully our time in Olympia will be right down the street from one of our new grandsons. Really excited about that. Got into the race late, obviously, with the redistricting of Legislative District 12, and I was approached by the Republican Party chair, asked if I would consider running when Senator Hawkins announced that he was not going to run for re-election in the Senate, and current state representative Keith Gaynor announced that he was going to step up and run for that open Senate position. It took us about 10 days to actually run through that process to decide. It wasn't on our radar. And when I say ours, mine or my wife's, and we're just in a really good spot after I retired from law enforcement and the things that we had going on. And but we sat down and prayed about it, had wise counsel with some really, really, I think, wise people. One of those couples was Clyde and Ruth Ballard. Clyde, if you know anything about politics, was our state representative for about 20 years, from 1983 to 2002, 16 of those years as Speaker of the House. And I asked Clyde specifically, I said, Clyde, hey, I just need to know if I get into this, I need to know that I can make a difference, regardless of who the governor is, regardless of who has majority in the House or the Senate. And just what those things look like. And he said, absolutely. And here's why. And they sat down and told us their story. That was about day 7 into our 10-day exploratory process. And I think that was the real kicker that really made us decide and push us towards, yes, I think this is something that we're called to do.
Excellent. What is your primary promise to the public if you are elected?
Well, is to represent you well. And what I mean is I'm going to be available. I've already put 7,200 miles that I've documented since June 10th, getting around this very, very large geographical district to get to know the people, the business owners, to hear what they have to say, to hear what the problems are. A lot of the same things across all 3 counties. There is some difference in those counties, obviously, but a lot of the same issues impacting everyone abroad. And so we're going to be there. Really excited because as a legislative team, I think we have the opportunity to work with current state representative Mike Steele, who I believe is going to be reelected. And I'm very hopeful that our current state representative Keith Gaynor will also make that Senate position. I think you'll see an opportunity that as a team of 3, we're going to work collectively really, really well together. I've, talked a lot with Carolyn Eslick from the 39th, because we're going to share some of that district boundary around the Sultan area. Just what a phenomenal lady, and the background that she has for that area. I just feel like we were just made to partner. It's not just about District 12. It's about the state of Washington. I know what it takes to commit, and my wife and I are in a position, in our lives financially, as far as for my work as well. And I have the green light from my employer to move that forward. I would be stepping down as the administrative liaison for the Sheriff's Association if I were to, when I win the election in November 5th.
All right. What differentiates you from your opponent?
Just about everything. I mean, the fact that she's a woman, I'm a man, which has nothing to do with it, but I think night and day. She's really calling on women's reproductive health, which we just had a forum for Wenatchee World 2 nights ago, and it was a big topic of discussion. And if you know anything about me, my Christian beliefs, the sanctity of life is really, really guarded closely and is important. My wife and I have worked with foster kid care programs over the years for abused and neglected. We really, really go to battle for we people that we think that are the neglected and just need somebody to help them out. And I think that's why I was so drawn to law enforcement. I think that's why several of my sons are drawn to law enforcement, military action. Had a son that worked overseas for several years as a rescue agent for undercover work for sex trafficked young kids. And my wife and I have an adopted daughter that's a sex trafficking survivor. So we're really, really about protecting the vulnerable and the innocent. And I think that every unborn child should have the right to have their time at life, at least a free shot at it. I get it. They're going to try to say that things out there are talking specifically about, the botched abortion and somebody gone and left to die. Those numbers just don't exist of what they're trying to talk about. I don't believe at the same time. And if so, then why should our tax dollars be paying for different things like that? But as far as medical care issues, we want everybody to have the right affordable care and the opportunity to seek that medical for their needs.
All right. My fourth and final question is, what did you learn from the primary that you would like that has been positively impacting you here during the general election?
Well, I ran 4 elections as a county sheriff. Even though those are bipartisan, we never saw really that in action in Chelan County because all of the opponents, including myself, ran as Republicans. So this truly is a bipartisan election. Demographically, I think that's what we're going to see. I think you can sway a few form of undecided voters, but I think it's really going to come down to demographics, and it's going to come down to who the heck is going to get out and vote. We saw a horrible voter turnout, and so we're yelling at the top of our lungs to everybody: tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your families. This is an important election, federally, state, and your local elections as well. We need you to get out and voice and make your mark. So we can put the best people forward for policy. I'm going to circle back a little bit on the differences. Obviously, I have a public safety background. I think I really, really pinned to favor and really give an addition to that criminal justice public safety committee that myself, multiple other sheriffs and chiefs have testified before, and they just disregarded everything that we had to say as elected officials and the public safety professionals. So we really want to bring a balanced voice and knowledge base representing all of our law enforcement officials across the state. But I think those are the main things. Small businesses, community, we'll call them small, our municipalities and our counties, so our local agencies and communities to give them the authority and the autonomy to govern as they see fit without too much overreach from the state. And we know that the overregulation is driving our housing markets through the roof. And they call it affordable housing. I think what they want is subsidized housing. And you and I think, believe we want to see affordable housing.
All right. Well, big, huge shout out and an amen to your get out and vote. We have an incredible privilege and we need to take advantage of that. So thank you for joining us today, and thanks for your time and for sharing your views with our listeners. We appreciate
Absolutely. Thank you guys for this opportunity and what you're doing as well. Take care.
All right. Well, I'm Brad Payne with FPIW Action.
And I'm Brian Noble with FPIW. Friendly reminder, nothing in this video is considered an endorsement of the candidate, nor the candidate's endorsement of FPIW or FPIW Action. Like we like to say around here, go out there and defend and advance biblical values in the public square. God bless.